Every town has a ghost story that's been passed down through the generations. But what if those legends were true? My name is Miranda Young, and I'm the Ghost Biker. Hey everybody, happy Thursday night. I'm the Ghost Biker and you are watching the Ghost Biker Garage Live. Here we are, almost the end of January, hard to believe. I had a great show last week, got a great show tonight. We weren't really sure if we were going to be able to do a show tonight with all of the crazy weather and everything that's about to be rolling in. But just like always, the forecast is a little bit iffy, and it looks like we're going to get less than what we were anticipating. And so I thought, why not have my good dear friend Miss Sonya Thompson on tonight? So, but before we get to her, if you missed last week's show, we had Brandon Cooper on, and it was a fantastic show. We talked about Hey Good Meal. We also talked about his appearance on, I believe it was Mountain Monsters. I'm not 100% sure the show. I'd have to look back on that. But we talked about his recent TV guest appearance. We also talked about some exciting things that he's got going on in his work with veterans. And it was just a really, really good show. So if you missed that, I encourage you to go back and check it out. Just want to talk briefly about a few things that are going on. We will be closed at the historic Scott County Jail this coming Saturday because of this crazy weather that we're supposed to have. So rather than going in and just kind of sitting there and encouraging people to come out, we're going to be closed this coming Saturday. We still are on our January hours, which is the fact that we are just open on Saturdays, but we are open every night for paranormal investigations. And we still actually have a few dates left here in the remainder of the month if you want to get those dates in. We also have, providing that it is does stay clear, but we do still have some of those extended hours going through March 8th. Now, those extended hours, for the price of a 6.5 hour investigation, you will get an 8.5 hour investigation. We are also offering daytime investigations on the days that we are not open, which once we get on our February hours, we will still be on an abbreviated schedule. So you can come in and investigate or do a guided ghost hunt during those daytime hours if you so choose. Just reach out to us through our website. We do have that information on there, or through the historic Scott County Jail. And actually, let me pull that up over here. You can find all that. Historic Scott County Jail Facebook, Historic Rugby After Dark Facebook, or if you go to historyhighwayshaunts.com, you can book those extended extended hour investigations, daytime investigations, or guided ghost hunts. Let's see here. I do also want to mention, let me pull this up here, share my screen. I've not announced it yet, but I have been invited to be a part of the Strange, Dark, and Mysterious Market, which is going to be taking place there in Seneca, South Carolina on June 12th, 13th, and 14th. Looking forward to that. They did just announce the paranormal investigation, and that paranormal investigation is going to be taking place at Haygood Mill. There's the schedule of events when it comes to speakers. I will be speaking on at 5 o'clock on Saturday the 13th, and also on at 3 p.m. on Sunday the 14th. So I know those spots have filled up. They've got some great folks that are going to be there speaking, and that's going to be part of this event that's going to be taking place there in Seneca. Now, I will have more information about this, exactly where it's going to be taking place. I think it's going to be at the Merrimack State Park. And let me see if they've got this pulled up. And then, of course, there's the poster for the Haygood Mill Paranormal Investigation. And so that will be June 13th, 9 p.m. till 12 a.m., $25 per person. I don't know how many spaces. Because they literally just announced this 6 hours ago. So I am not sure how many spaces they do have available, but I do know that there is limited spacing. So the timing couldn't be more perfect in announcing that being part of this event after having Mr. Brandon Cooper on last week to talk about Haygood Mill itself. So that's something you don't want to miss. I know we got some folks in here in the chat room that has been there, investigated that, and probably knows some of the folks that is putting this event on. So come check it out. We will be talking more about that as everything gets a little bit closer and more things are announced. I guess I'll probably be posting the announcement here in the next day or two. Want to say hello to everyone over here in the chat room. Thank you all so much for choosing to spend your time with us tonight. We've got Miss Nancy Weems in here, and she says Sonya is a fantastic guest. Yes, she is. I know for those of you that do tune in every week, some of you know her personally. Others know her from the chat room. She's a regular that tunes in here, and she's been on the show 2 other times before talking about some of the different stuff that she's involved in, and she's got some really cool things to talk about tonight. She's also over here still in the chat room doing double duty there. We've got We've got James and Kim Brady over here. Speaking of South Carolina, there was spirit-led paranormal research, and we've got Melissa Miller on here. Hey, Melissa. We've got Jolly Jeffers Goins. Thank you so much for tuning in, and Mr. Daryl Paulette from Clover Hill Village, as well as Bedford Paranormal over here. And I have a cat that is getting into. Sorry for the noise. Got cats running around that's getting into stuff over here. Now, so if you have any questions for myself or my guest tonight, please feel free to put those over in the comments section. We've got a great crowd here, so hopefully we won't miss anything when it comes to comments and such. Hello, Gwen. Thank you for tuning in. But I want to go ahead and welcome my friend, Miss Sonya Thompson. She is an actress and model and doing some paranormal investigating as well. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on with us tonight.
Well, thanks for having me tonight. This was great. I'm very excited about being on here tonight and getting to wave at everybody, say hello, and everybody I hadn't got to see in a while, like Kim and James and Melissa even. Melissa graduated with me from high school many, many moons ago. So haven't got to see her in a while. I actually ran into her last year. I stopped off at Shalotsky's in Gainesville, and I heard a familiar voice and looked over, and I'm like, oh my God, there's Melissa. So that was really cool. Just randomly seeing her, and because she's not living in that area anymore. And so it was like, wow, it was so coincidental. I was supposed to be there. That's the way I look at it. And so was she. So we got to hang out and see each other for a bit. So that was really fun.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. Well, we've become good friends, and, yes. It's been, I met you down at, what has it been now? 3 years ago? Almost 4?
Yeah, almost 4.
Yeah, down at Deep South Paracon down in Alabama, and struck up a conversation, became fast friends, and I've enjoyed watching all the things that you've had going on lately, with because you're always into something, always traveling and always into something.
Always trying to keep up with myself. But I, and you too. I mean, you're always on the go yourself, and you're always doing great things and speaking at great places. And I mean, my God, you got to go all the way up to Wisconsin last year, and
Yeah.
even had like a UFO experience. So, that was wild. So, I mean, hearing your tales and your adventures is very intriguing to me. So, sometimes I'm a little jelly, but it's okay. It's okay. I think it's cool. I think it's cool to be hanging out with somebody as badass and cool as you. So there you go. I said it.
Okay, I'm laughing at Daryl. He says hello. I met up here. He said, "Hell, Sonya." Oh, that's funny.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so like I said, most people over here knows you, but just in case we've got some folks over in the chat room that maybe are a little shy and aren't speaking up over there, if you would tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're into.
Okay. Well, my name is Sonya Thompson. I'm mainly known for my zombie roles on The Walking Dead season 1, season 2, and Zombieland. I was also a promotional model for The Walking Dead, and I'm one of the most seen zombies in the world for promotion of The Walking Dead. Not the most seen, but one of. I'm just not a zombie actress. I do modeling. I do other, acting roles. I've been doing it in film and TV since 2007. And so I've been at it for a while, and I do other things like, I've been doing some ghost hunting and, and getting into that. And I'm really enjoying that. I look at it as a hobby, but Gwen that's on here watching, she says, no, it's not a hobby for you. She's already told me that. So, so I guess I'm heading down that path a little bit more seriously. I enjoy history. I've got a page called Walk About Georgia, And so that's kind of my adventure page. It's Walkabout Georgia and Beyond, because I'm always either going somewhere else all the time. And like on my way to Nashville a couple of weeks ago, I stopped off at a old stone fort and went for a 1.5 mile hike. So, and that was an archaeology site, and that was really, really cool. And I really enjoyed doing that. And I've been staying at historic inns. I stayed at the Blossom Inn in North Carolina, just Christmas weekend. And oh my gosh, that was so amazing. So I've done some really, I'm into a lot of different things, but I do love history. And last year I got to, at Homer, Georgia, there's an old jail there, an old courthouse. The courthouse was built in the 1860s, and the jail was built in, I think, 1908 or 1906 maybe. And I got to be on the second floor. We were doing night at the museum, and I got to portray an officer. And the Brady's there, they showed up, they came and they supported, which was great because they're in the history as well. And that was really neat being a part of that. So anytime, in the year before that, I did something at the Hardman Farm up there in Helen. And I got to, it was the Victorian Christmas, and I got to portray a very Southern person for the role. And I got to greet everybody. And it was so amazing because some people thought I really spoke like this. So it wasn't until later, this one gentleman, he heard me just regular speaking, and he says, "You had me fooled." So, I enjoy doing the Southern dialects and the redneck dialect, the different ones. And so I've been in it for a while, and, that's basically me. I'm an artist. I draw, I paint, I do things like that too. So I I even build stuff sometimes. So, I mean, it just depends on what kind of creativity sparks me, and what direction it leads me in. Um, so yeah, that's who I am. If you have any questions, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has about The Walking Dead or anything else that I'm doing. So
Yeah, I mean, and that's the cool thing. You're so diverse. And I really love your concept with your Walkabout Georgia and Beyond page, because doing these little short videos talking about the places, that's really one of the things that's really big right now, are just the short, almost quick clips to give people a little bit of a taste about these different locations that you're visiting, and a little bit of the history to really try and encourage the people to come and visit these locations.
yeah, and I don't want the history to be forgotten. A lot of these
Mhm,
smaller towns, that's what I try to focus on, is the smaller towns. I've
mhm,
tried to do some of the bigger ones, and it's just so hard to get it all in. And then when those are the longer, I found that the longer videos don't get as much attention as the shorter ones.
mhm.
Um, but I was able to do a really cool one. My daughter lives in the Netherlands, and by the way, she was on The Walking Dead with me as well, and she was also a hero zombie. I know a lot of people don't realize that, but she got shot by Daryl at the barn. But anyways, um, while I was visiting over there last year, I always visit this nunnery. There's a old nunnery that's up there, and I just couldn't. This time I decided, you know what, I need to do a little video.
Mhm.
And I walked into it a little bit in the library part and all that, but I didn't go down to the lower floors or anything like that. But I just wanted people to kind of get a touch of what certain things look like in the Netherlands, and that some of these smaller villages, they might not have much like the bigger places, like Utrecht, or which Utrecht goes all the way back to way past the Romans. I mean, they had taken over the city at one point, so just to walk on those cobblestone roads and walkways, and imagine that at one time Romans walked, you know, there, and other, going even further back than that. I mean, it's just so crazy to think about that you're in these really old places like that. And so to be able to share a little bit of that with people over here that's not got to go anywhere, I mean, at least they can live vicariously through me. So I try to present things to people that maybe people off the beaten path haven't thought about, going and checking out. Kind of like that old stone fort up in Tennessee that I stopped
Mhm.
at. That was so fascinating. It was it was an archaeology site, and they've got some. It's like an old ceremonial mound and it's got like this brick wall all the way around it. It's a pretty good size, but they didn't find any evidence of it being anything other than for ceremonial purposes. But when you do the trail that goes around it, there's like a U of the river's like a U that goes around that area, and there's like 3 waterfalls. And it was amazing. I wanted to spend more time exploring there, but I had to get up to Tennessee, up to Pleasant View up there above Nashville because I was filming on a new TV series. So I had table reads and meetings and wardrobe stuff to take care of once I got up there, and because we were filming the next day. And so unfortunately I didn't get to hang out there as long as I would have liked, but I love exploring and seeing little caves and different things like that. You just don't ever know where your journey is going to take you.
And those are some of the best trips. I
Mhm.
mean, especially when you're driving down the road and you see a sign for something that maybe you have no idea what it is. I mean, you and I were talking about that when you were heading up to stay at the Balsam Mountain Inn with what was it? Lake was it Lake Junaluska or?
Lake Junaluska.
Oh,
Lake
okay.
Junaluska, I think is how they say it. I tried it many times, and this one guy says, "You got it," and I don't know if I got it or not now, but it's that land was donated. Actually, it was so cool. On the last day when I was leaving the Blossom Inn, there was a gentleman, or maybe it was that Saturday when I was going there,
Hmm.
and he was there. He had because they have a breakfast buffet on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, or maybe just Saturday and Sundays for anybody can come in and they can pay for it. If you're a hotel guest, it's free. But I was leaving and I was just, me. I talked to random strangers and I told him that's where I was going, and he says, "Oh, my family donated the land for that." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool." And I was having weird coincidences all weekend while I was up there, and I was seeing people I hadn't seen in 10 years, and bam, there they were. I turned around and there was people I knew, and I even saw my old coach from high school. Not at the Blossom Inn, but just at, in my little adventures around and about in different cities like Cherokee and Waynesville and Silva and in Lake Junaluska. And there's an old hotel there, and I drove up the mountain to look at it because I wanted to go in and get some information about it because I was like, well, I'd like to stay at the Hotel Lambeth.
Hmm.
And it was closed for the winter. But
Mm.
I got to tell you, I kind of got the Shining type vibes because
Yeah.
they had the rolling cart, luggage carts outside. There was like 3 of them outside, and they had leaves all caked up on them like it was all deserted. Nobody had been there for years. And I mean, I'm surprised it wasn't like vines crawling up on the sides of the walls or something. But it was really that whole Shining type feel of there's nobody there.
Uh-huh.
And I was the only one in the parking lot, and I was the only one looking in through the windows, and I'm like, "Is somebody gonna, like, jump out and behind something at me in there if I look too long?" I mean, it was just it had that creep factor, but
Wow.
I do wanna go back and check that out at some point, but they have a lovely recreational area. You can go kayaking. There's, like, a 2.5 mile, hike, trail around the lake, and there's this bridge that's a one-lane bridge, and it goes over the dam. And so it was just and there's a labyrinth at the church there at the lake that you can, everybody's, I'm sure, is familiar with that. You walk
Yeah.
through it's like a little snake type, curvy
Hmm.
type thing, and then you end up in the middle, and you meditate in the middle, and you release and let go. And as you're
Hmm.
walking through it, you're thinking about the things that you need to release and let go. So I did that. And I know
Yeah.
some people had no idea, and I know they were looking at me weird, but I just kept doing it.
Hey,
Because
do your thing.
yeah, I was on a journey, and
Yeah.
that was part of it. So when I saw it, I did it.
Yeah.
Um, and I know I'm rambling on. I'm sorry, I
No,
do that.
no, you're fine. No,
So,
this is just I like it, just a nice casual conversation. Dee Dee brings up a good point. She says, yes, out here small towns are being built over. Everyone needs to register their historic sites. Dee Dee's out in California there. And I know she and I have talked about like Old Town, San Diego, I believe, and all the cool sites and stuff that are out there. And it really is. It's one of those things. Small towns are really becoming sort of a dinosaur of the past, really, just because so many new things are coming up. Old buildings are being torn down, and I think it is really important that people do register these sites and, like you were saying, share these stories about these places, because if people quit sharing them, they're just going to die with the people who they were involved or who were involved in them, and that's such a tragedy in and of itself.
Yeah, and when I look at the old Sanborn maps for some of these places and I see some of the things that were there that are not there anymore, you're like, okay, what happened to this? And sometimes I'll
Yeah.
go through the newspapers and I'll look it up and then I'm like, oh my God, this person stayed here. Why is this not talked about? So I try to let people know about some of those things, but um, and I love, as you know, I go down rabbit holes with old
Mhm.
newspapers all the time. And especially if I see a cool place and I wanna know more about it, I start, doing some research, and I'm like the research queen on some of this stuff because, like my friend Renee's building,
Mhm.
we were trying to find out a date on it, and bam, I found an article talking about when it was being built in 1917. There it
Mhm.
was. And then she remembered seeing 1917, like, written on one of the walls upstairs, when they were tearing like, on the roof when they were doing some
Mhm.
roofing and stuff, and it was like, "Oh my god," so that was verifiable right there just because it was written on there and because I found that newspaper article to back that up.
Yeah.
So, it's things like that are so freaking intriguing, but the guy that has bought that building, recently, he doesn't care about the history.
Mhm.
He's posted that it was built in 1900 because he's trying to lease it out. Well, you know me, I'm gonna correct him. So I corrected him. I even shared the article. But that doesn't mean he's gonna correct it, but, still, I just feel like all that kind of stuff is so important and going to Waynesville, I think between Waynesville and Silva, I did enjoy Silva, but Waynesville had some really cool alleyways,
Mm.
and some of them were really, like there was, like, these small alleyways, and I did a little video and put it on TikTok because I didn't know where it was gonna go,
Yeah.
and so I kept seeing people come up it and go down, and I'm like, "Well, it probably just goes to a parking lot or something." No, there was actually a store back there,
Oh,
and
wow.
it was like, "Oh my gosh," it's like I just found this little nook, and it was just hidden in behind. In a way, I kinda felt like I was walking down Harry Potter's, like an alley in Harry Potter or something. But it was, you don't ever know where the road or the alley is gonna take you,
Yeah.
and even when I was in Utrecht over in the Netherlands, I followed a little alleyway, and it took me out to this canal, and I'm just like, "Wow," so it's always cool to go ahead and video it while you're doing it,
Yeah, you get the more
you know?
genuine reaction. I mean, you're seeing it for the first time as well as, anyone else that's watching the video there.
Yeah.
Um, I loved hearing about your travels there to the Balsam Mountain Inn there in Balsam, North Carolina. Anyone that's watched the show knows that we covered that when it was the Grand Old Lady back in season 3, episode 1. Did a really fun. It's probably one of my absolutely most favorite places to investigate, because it did at the time, it did have that shining feeling to it, and the story behind it, and then just the interactions we had, because everybody was that we encountered. Now there was, the death up there that did take place from the deputy that was murdered. However, most of the people we encountered, they were happy travelers because they would travel on the train, and it was just a different type of energy, and I absolutely loved it. So I was really sad when the grand old lady closed down, but then very excited whenever it was purchased and then opened back up as the Balsam Mountain Inn. And I know that they're doing some really great things to, with their music on the porch. And I saw the other day where the train is now traveling through there again. They had a video of that. And so I was really excited when you said you were going to go stay there to see how you enjoyed your time there. Did you have any experiences with any possible paranormal activity?
I did. And yeah, I just want to say thank you too, because, when I was looking for something to do Christmas weekend, and on my journey of staying at historic inns and hotels, you suggested that. And I was like, oh my God, I got to do this. And I looked it up, and the rooms were so nice because the walls were beaded and the ceiling was beaded, and there was a clawfoot tub in the bathroom, and of course I took full advantage of that both nights that I was there. And they even have a little bar and a barista, with the coffee and all that. And then the huge ballroom, is where the breakfast buffet is at. And then there's like a little veranda type closed in porch that steps down with this beautiful tile on the floor.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's just gorgeous. And then of course the veranda front porch with all the rocking chairs. And yes, it was a railroad inn, and it was basically the wealthy traveled there
Yeah.
for the summer to stay cool. So they would come in on the train, and after their long train rides from Georgia or wherever, and I did find some old ads of advertisements for the Blossom Mountain Inn in these Georgia newspapers. And so um, they would go down at the bottom with a carriage, and they would bring the women up, and they would have probably their big hats and their umbrellas and their long dresses and stuff. And they would come up, right up that way. And then they would have another wagon that would go down and pick up the huge, chest and everything with their clothing, the trunks and stuff. And that's the reason the I almost said alleyways, the hallways are so huge, was to accommodate the trunks. And so, it was built in 1908, but in the newspapers that I found, I actually found it going back to the 1800s. So I don't know, I'm thinking that there might have been another one there before this one, and
I
maybe it
think
burned down.
so. I'm having a hard time remembering all of the history of it because it has opened and closed several
Yeah.
times. I know that specific building was built in 1908 because it was the same year
Mhm.
my grandma was born, and so that's how I remembered that one.
Okay.
But I love the fact that it's still very rustic in
Yes.
comparison because there's no TVs in there. And also love the fact that every room is different. It doesn't matter where you stay. Everything from the furniture to the layout of every single room is different. And there was what 50 is it 58 or
Originally there were 100 rooms,
yeah.
and that were, that you could do, but now there's 50. I believe only 50 that are,
Mhm.
you know, available. Mine had a fireplace in it, and there's no air condition up there, so they have box fans that go in the windows during the summer. They did have radiator heat,
Mhm.
but it was really neat walking around and also seeing the areas that you had, because I watched your show and also Soul Sisters.
Mhm.
Um, and I really enjoyed those and stuff. Um, and I kind of jumped over the activity that I had. I did set up a K2 meter, and I've got this little thing that's voice activated, and it's
Mhm.
got all these different colors.
I am
And
sorry.
oh goodness, it's got all these different colors, and it's got to be about 10 feet away. And if you talk really, really loud, you'll make it go off. But if you
Mhm.
don't talk really, really loud, it won't go off. But I had it a good 15 or so feet away. And I decided just to kind of set those items up on top of the mantle. And about 1:15 in the morning, all these lights went off. And it was so bright, it woke me up. And I was like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And I actually was able to get my cell phone and kind of videotape it a little bit. And it happened several more times. I was not making any noises that would have set that off. Um, so
Nice.
that was really cool that happened. And I noticed that around 2:30 every morning, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Two mornings in a row at around 2:30, I heard footsteps walking in the hallway. Now, granted, there were other people there,
Mhm.
but I don't think it's I just don't. I think because it was at 2:30, it was about
Yeah.
2:30 every morning. It had to be footsteps from paranormal. That's just my personal opinion.
Mhm.
But I don't know if the new owners are into the paranormal or not. But the bartender, he remembered you. Um, he says, "Well, was it the
Most
guy from?"
bartenders do. No.
Yeah, yeah. He goes, "Well, I told him that one of my friends had investigated there, and he's like, was it the person from Friday the 13th or that chick on the bike on the motorcycle?" And I was like, "It was the chick on the motorcycle." So there you have it. He remembered you, but I told him that he needed to check your show out and also Soul Sisters, and so that was cool. And then there was someone else it was somebody else I was talking to about it that had some experiences as well in some of the rooms that they were cleaning. One of the ladies that was working up front,
Okay.
um, and she had talked about some things that in certain rooms that
Mhm.
there was things that would get moved.
Yeah.
She would have it on a table, or she'd have a table and then she'd go in, the table would be moved, or there were certain things in this one room that would be moved. And I want to think she said it was 205, the one that the sheriff was brought up into.
Okay.
Mhm. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but you know.
That's still fantastic. I mean, because I know that when I filmed there, it was in 2020, and they were struggling pretty hard at that point. And of course, we were coming right at the start of the pandemic, essentially, and they closed in the wintertime, but they had an extended closure because of the quarantine that was going on. So
Mhm.
so it was struggling a little bit before that at the time,
Yeah.
and I know that the lady who owned it, they actually really embraced the paranormal, and they utilized the paranormal during their off season to
Mhm.
bring in money whenever they would be closed. Because you know how the winters are and stuff in these areas, especially over there in that area, they can get kind of harsh, and not a lot of people traveling into that area. So the paranormal really helped them out, but I can also understand why somebody that maybe isn't into it might not necessarily,
Mhm.
um, because sometimes that does tend to turn people off if they're staying in a location and not looking to stay somewhere that might be active. So,
Yeah.
um, but I was again thrilled to death to see when they opened back up, and just beyond happy to see that they seem to be doing really well.
Well, I would like to stay back up there again,
Mhm.
at some point because I did enjoy it. And I got the extra little package deal thing because it was Christmas. I was like, oh, I'm going to do the extra $50 and get a T-shirt and a mug. And the owner, she was so nice because they didn't have the size that I needed. And she says, all of a sudden last week, a whole bunch of people came in and bought the shirts, and now we're just down to this. And she was just really nice, and I really enjoyed. There was a historian that was working the front, and she was great. She was able to give me some information about things, and they play old timey music in there, like from the 20s and stuff and the 30s, and and it's just you just have such a nice feel. There's these big columns in the lobbyway, and then there's a little sitting area with a fireplace, and then there's a room that's a library, and they
Yeah.
got a gift shop. So they've got it's just they got the bar, and the brew, and the coffee bar and stuff in there, and um, it was just a really awesome experience. And I found out that night the last night I was staying there, that there was actually a trail that goes down to like this pond,
Mhm.
and I didn't get to do that, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I'd known about that because I would have totally done that because it was a beautiful weekend. And they had water when a lot of other places didn't have water because they had,
Mhm.
I think there was like 7 springs that they had.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so they had like they actually had running water, and a
Mhm.
lot of people would bring their jugs and stuff to fill up to take home with them,
Mhm.
which was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
cool.
And for anyone just tuning in, we've got Miss Sonya Thompson on here, actress and model. And we're talking about her channel, Walk Around Georgia and Beyond. We're also talking about some of her, I was going to say paranormal trips, but some of the trips you've taken that are history in nature that you've pulled some paranormal activity out of or found activity. I do want to hit the comment section over here because some folks have been making some really interesting comments. Nancy says that she just followed your walk around page. Thank you, Nancy. And I
Thank you.
encourage if you guys like that type of content, history based, and learning about new places, especially in the Georgia area and wherever Sonya is traveling, because she does travel a lot throughout the year. Check that out, like, follow, and subscribe on there. Dee Dee, we were talking about some of the areas there in California, and she says Old Town, I'm going to say Temecula, maybe. I'm sorry if I butchered that. Some of the old buildings are being replaced with new construction. It has a rich history, and it's
Mhm.
so sad. And also, she says that our beach cities and old bungalows sold to build hotels, new and modern homes. That's awful. I
I hate
hate
that.
that.
Yeah, I
I
did
hate
too.
that.
Yeah.
Mm. And
Yeah.
I'm sure the structure probably a lot more expensive and probably not as durable as a lot of these older buildings as well.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Nancy says, sounds like a great journey down the alleyway. And she's saying that in reference to your video there when you were over in Europe. Um, Kim says, I want to go back there. She's talking about the Balsam Mountain Inn, that she
Mhm.
was there back in the 90s.
We should plan
And
that. We should plan that. A lot of us just get together and go up there one weekend. That would be fun.
yeah. And Dee Dee says no TVs at the Cosmopolitan in Old Town San Diego is the same way. Rugby's the same way in most of their old places that you can stay in. I think with the exception of Percy Cottage, I believe that they do have a TV with maybe old DVDs there in the living room. But same thing. I like that. I mean, I don't I have a TV, but it's all old DVDs. I don't have TV here, and it's nice. It's nice. It keeps a lot of the crap out, especially when you're trying to get away. And
Exactly.
let's see. Tammy says, "Hey Sonia, ready to do some investigating with you?"
Oh, I miss you, Tammy. I would love to invest. We had the best time down in Alabama. Oh my gosh, we were communicating upstairs in this place, and I think it was old library or something, and we were on fire, man.
Yeah.
We were having some major communications, and then it was time for our group to go downstairs, and we're like, but we're really enjoying this up here. We got to leave, you know? So I would love to investigate with her again. She's just such a sweet person. And her husband's nice too, you know. But yeah, that would be really cool. But that'd be really neat though I've been out to California and DD a couple times and the Chula Vista area and Ventura and of course Hollywood and LA, but it is sad when you go to some of these places and you see the old buildings in ruins and painted on and graffiti and all that, especially like up in Baltimore. If you guys have ever been to Baltimore,
Mm,
downtown, there's so many drugs and it's scary. You have to be very
yeah.
careful in parts of Baltimore, but there's some of the most beautiful buildings there. But the windows are knocked out and there's paint all and graffiti and all this, and it just broke my heart when I was there to see um all that like that. It just, I hate to see things being torn down, and there's got to be a way to reuse these spaces without tearing them down.
Yeah. Well, especially too, whenever you go back and you see actually see what the buildings look like in like historic photos and such. That's always one of those things that makes it even more heartbreaking when you see that, because it's almost, with some of them, it's almost like time stood still, with the exception of of just or you see it when they're the old buildings and then there's like a new Hampton Inn or something sitting beside it, and it just throws everything off.
It really does. The ambiance of it. I loved being at the Balsam Inn. It was so cool because they've utilized the depot down there as like a community type center and playground down there, and then there's like an old store sitting there, and it's just, I want to just like go. I want to, like, there's trees going around it, and there's all this stuff, and I just want to go and take the trees away, and I want to go venture inside of it, and I just want it to be open again. It'd be really great to see some revitalization of that area, and let it be a destination place again for people.
Yeah.
That would be really, really cool. But man, I gotta tell you, for years when I've driven by that area, I've seen a sign for Moonshine Creek.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would tell my friend, I called up a friend of mine, my friend Lynn. She's really cool. She's a DJ. And I said, girl, I said, I found us a creek. She says, really? I said, it's up here in North Carolina. It's called Moonshine Creek. She said, oh, Lord, we'd be there all day. Have our chairs sitting in the middle of the creek just drinking away. I said, yeah. So I found Moonshine Creek, and I was like, I made a point to make sure to find Moonshine Creek, but I didn't smell any alcohol, but I guarantee they probably made moonshine by that creek. That's how it got
I'd say it was definitely used for for that. Dee Dee says she would go to Moonshine Creek.
Hey, it sounds like a fun time to me. I really do. I think that Moonshine Creek, it just sounds like a good fun time. Um, but I'd always seen that sign, and I'd always seen that sign for Lake Junaluski, and and I got to actually go see these things, and Silva, there's that cool courthouse. It's like up on top of a hill, and a tall hill with all these stairs. Well, I found out at the visitor center at the bottom, it was a doctor's office, and I think his last name might have been Thompson, of course, but anyways, might not have been. But anywho, he had an outhouse in behind his house and place. And by the way, his house was ordered from like the Sears catalog and then put together. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. But they didn't have a bathroom up on the hill, so anybody that was at the courthouse had to come down the hill and use his. And I'm thinking, I just don't think I'd make it. I just,
That's
but anyway, just wanted to add that tidbit. So
that's funny. And I agree 100%, Ellen. She says, I feel like our country doesn't do a good job of preserving our historic buildings and areas. It makes me sad too. No, I 100% agree. And a good example of the revitalization of that, and I know some of you all have been there, or at least been through there, is downtown Harriman, where the old Harriman Hospital is. That is such a cool little downtown. 27 runs right through the middle of it. And I can remember when I lived in Chattanooga, and for years, every week I drove through there, and it was almost like a ghost town. Nothing in these beautiful, I mean, just like your little quintessential downtown cityscape. And there would be nothing in there. They even had their little princess theater and everything right there in the middle. And then I guess whenever Main Street USA, when people started getting these revitalization grants around the country, they got one and started doing all these different things. And one by one, you started seeing people putting businesses in those old buildings. They started decorating the street, decorating the windows, and now it's a booming little revitalized town. And it's always nice to see these main streets and historic districts having life brought back to them. And
It really is. And I love being able to, see that happen and see some of these places being reused for stuff, even if it's a brewery. Just
yeah.
just having something still in there and it's still being used. And the construction of these buildings are so well made,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and the fact they're still standing, I mean, that's impressive enough. And you were talking about some of these things like that, that are like in California, DD, that are being built over and stuff. And yeah, like you said, some of these things are probably not being built as well as the old buildings. Because with all the earthquakes and stuff that they've had out there, and then all of a sudden they put a new building up and take the old one down, it's like, dude, that old one has still been standing all those years through all those earthquakes. And
Mhm.
why would you remove it,
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
And I'll have to go back and look at this. Daryl said that he didn't get the timestamp, but we need to go back and look right after I started talking about the Balsam Inn and looking like somewhere out of The Shining. He said that something shot across the screen. So I'll definitely have to go back and look at that. I've been having a lot of strange things happening on my show every week. Something now, I don't think there was anything last week while I was at the bank building, but when I had Jake Fife on, something came and it sounded like it was trying to come through the door over here. I mean, it was the loudest bang. Literally jumped, and then I feel like, or no, that may have been when Dee Dee was on. I can't remember if that was when Dee Dee was on or when Jake was on. And then yeah, and then there was something that shot across the screen. I can't remember it, but it's been something the last little bit after every show. It's been
Hmm.
kind of weird. So, yeah, we'll have to go back and check that out.
Well,
Um,
can we talk about what happened up there when I was there one time?
yeah, that was. I still don't know what that was, and it
That
was.
was that was crazy. Okay, um, so I'm up there. Sometimes I'll go up there and I help out with some stuff, and we were up there and we were putting some shelving in her closet and downstairs, and it's near the stairs where the stairs used to be at,
Mhm.
and so anyways,
Well, let
all
me back up.
yes, yes.
I live in a very old farmhouse. It's like 125 years old. Been in the family for several generations, and so when I moved in here, I had to do a lot of remodel work and had to rehab stairs built up to the second floor because it used to just be just a small second floor used for storage, and then it was turned into rooms, and it was a very narrow inset staircase. I couldn't get anything up or down, so I had to completely have stairs built to go up to the second floor. So that's what Sonya means when she says that the door was there, um, near where the old stairs used to be.
Yes, and it was raining outside.
Mhm.
It was an extremely rainy day, and it was, you know, I'd been using like the circular saw, like on the front porch. And I
Mhm.
actually heard some men talking out in the yard, and I didn't know if maybe it was across the road or something, and or
And I
whatever.
don't have close neighbors.
No, she doesn't. So I actually heard
Mhm.
men talking. But, and I told her about it, and she goes, and, so anyways, and I've been using screw guns, things like that, drills, different things. And, so I'm in there, just got through doing the screw gun, putting the screws in the wall and getting ready to put the shelf in there. And, about time we heard a loud noise, like something had fallen. And then we heard footsteps, and it sounded like men's boots, like old boots, like wooden So, I mean, it was just like freaking crazy. I'm
Loud.
looking at her, she's like, we thought somebody had came in on us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just this crash almost, and then just literally just clump, 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 clump. And I mean, where it had been raining, obviously, if someone had come in, we would have known, and they would have had to have had somewhere to go
Yeah.
because it was the strangest thing. And even the cats were like, "What the hell?" You know, they were very surprised at what it was. So, um, I don't know. I mean, we didn't find any explanation for it.
Whatsoever.
But it was, I mean, you could feel the footsteps. It was so loud.
It was vibrating. It vibrated. Like you
Mhm.
could feel it was like boom, boom, boom. You know, I mean, it was you could feel the
Mhm.
vibrations of the footsteps.
Yeah.
And and I mean, that tripped me out. I looked at her, I said, I'm glad you're here because I would have been and 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 I mean, it was just like, oh my God, I'm glad we were together to hear that. We witnessed it together. Um,
Mhm.
it was really, it was crazy. It startled us, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it was kind of cool, you know. Um, but I was glad I wasn't there by myself. Um, yeah, I'm a wimp. But no, that was really cool though. So I think there totally needs to be I think you've investigated there before. I think you need to do it again. So
I do. I do. I mean, well before I moved in here, Tiffany and I investigated here, and my contractor that did the original remodel, it was funny. He never said anything to me about it while he was doing the remodel, but after the fact, he asked me. He said, he goes, I just because he knows what I do, and he was like, "Did you ever have anything happen there at the house?" And I said, sorry, there's a cat laying behind my computer and he's moving and shoving my computer. And so I said, you know, I mean, yeah, there's been some things. And I said, but it's all familial, or it's all, nothing. I mean, it has such a good energy to it. And so it's funny because he said he said, yeah, things happened while I was working, and a lot of the time he worked by himself here. He would either work here by himself or he would maybe have one other person working with him, and he never worked late either. um, he was always out of here by 2 or 3 o'clock each day. And I always kind of laughed about it, but after he told me that, I thought, yeah, I know why you're heading out before before it gets dark. And but see, nothing is square here. It's such an old house, and he would often cuss about the fact that he would try to level something out, put something up, and where nothing is square, he would always start cussing about it. And so I'm sure that my grandfather or someone, involved in building the house or remodeling it was probably like, don't say anything bad about my craftsmanship. We worked with what we had.
uh-huh.
It
Yep.
probably wasn't a level. And so but
They
yeah, it's
eyed him. They're like,
mhm. Yeah, yeah. So I would be surprised. I actually need to ask him if he heard anything like what we heard, because
look,
I mean that
yeah.
was weird, and it was interesting. Well, when I think about it, so because we were doing construction in there
Mhm.
and working on that closet, but then when I had this room, when I had the porch closed in and had this new room built on last March, um, that was when I came back from that trip and saw that shadow move across my
Right.
bedroom when I got home. So I never knew if that shadow was connected with the construction or if that shadow was connected to that military cot that I had in here. So it's kind of odd that all of that was going on with construction.
Yeah. So I think doing the construction that probably brought it up, and the fact it was raining outside too, that could have been
Mhm.
some sort of energy as well with the
Well, and
water,
it
the
was
rain.
raining it was
Yeah.
raining that night I came back when I
Yeah.
saw that because I was coming back from, Florida, and I didn't get in
Hmm.
till, like, 4 or 5 o'clock that morning, and it
Yeah.
was pouring down rain, a storm was coming, so
Mhm.
you
So I
never
had to
know.
wonder if that might have something to do with it as well, with the rain, because that was interesting. But I mean, that was crazy. But it's not the first time I've been up there, and there's been crazy stuff like at the jail or somewhere else. But
Yeah,
it's cool.
yeah.
So
Well, you mentioned earlier about, when you stopped at the old stone fort up there when you were on your way to Nashville. Let's talk a little bit about your newest project that you're working on. I think that we talked about. I wanted to have you on after you had started doing this filming because this is a really cool concept that you all are doing.
yeah, it's a new TV series called Back from the Dead, and it's starring myself and Santiago Solero from The Walking Dead. Rick Prince is directing it, and also in the movie as well, in the series as well. He was on Sci-Fi's Face Off season 5, so he's done special effects. But I've also worked with Rick. I co-starred in a movie called Lawa All Saints Eve that filmed up in that area, Ashland City area, Nashville, about 11 years ago.
Mhm.
And so I've worked with Rick on other things too as well. But Back from the Dead, it's a really cool series based on the book series called Zombie by Santiago and Kendra Cloud. Can't even think of her last name right now, but her name's Kendra. And forgive me. But anyway, it's based on the book series called Zombified, and this series is an interactive type series where the viewer gets to decide what happens next. So they get to, be part of this. So we're bringing in the fans, we're bringing in the viewers, we're letting them be a part of this as much as we are. So that way they can decide what's going to happen. And I've, been filming on it, and we've gotten the first episode film. We just got a few pickup shots to do, some things to do, but we do have a fundraiser on it. It has not been picked up yet by a major network. But we've oh man, we've had a lot of people involved, a lot of businesses up in the Nashville and Pleasant View area, Tennessee, and there's been some really cool locations that we've filmed in, and I think this is really going to be something really cool. I play Commander Marie, and so I got to wear some military type fatigues and an outfit, and some badass sunglasses, and so that was really neat. And so that was cool. And I just think it's a really cool thing. I can't like give a whole bunch away about it because it is a new series and everything. But I think you guys will really enjoy it, especially if you were into The Walking Dead, or you were into Santiago played Julio on The Walking Dead season 4 in the prison. He was one of the prisoners, and so he's done some other movies and stuff as well, and very talented actor and a very dear friend. And so is Rick. Rick's a dear friend as well of mine. But I made some really great contacts with the other actors while I was up there, and they were a lot of fun to work with, and they did a great job. I really think this is something that people are going to enjoy. If you like that sort of thing, you like kind of the horror type based TV series and stuff, you'll really like this. So, but I encourage you, if you guys check it out, check out the page, like the page, follow the page, check out the GoFundMe.
Mhm.
Um, you know, it's all there, so I'm excited about that one. I really am. We've put a lot of good energy into it, a lot of hard work.
Yeah, yeah. So, we've got folks over here talking about it. Dee Dee says she just followed,
Thank you.
And she had asked that where can we see it or not yet. But of course, I guess if you follow the page, that will have they'll make all the announcements as to when that will be releasing. So, do they have a anticipated release date yet?
Not right now. Just finished filming 2 weeks ago. There's still some pickup scenes to do. So, but you got to edit it, and to do it right, as you know, it's not
Yeah.
editing is not an overnight process. I've
No.
I've worked with some indies that had it out for sale the very next week, and it's like, oh my
Yeah.
God, don't rush it, and then
No.
when you watch it, you're like, yeah, they could have taken a little bit more time on this, and this. So it's it's a whole journey of that. You really have to take the time to edit it right, make sure everything transitions properly, make sure it's scored right. You got to make sure the audio is clear. And if the audio is not clear, you got to go back in and do ADR work, and match everything up. So there's definitely a process. So, I can't really give any release dates at this time. But hey, getting that first episode, in the can and getting things done,
Mhm.
that's the first
That's
step, in the
huge.
right direction. Yeah, it really is.
That is huge. And it's right. Editing can definitely make or break a show. I mean, there's nothing worse than a good concept ruined by bad editing or just not, the best editing. So, kudos to you all.
Thank you.
And that's the thing, Santiago and them, they do things right.
Yeah.
I know anything that he's worked on has always been, top notch from at
Yes.
least from what I've experienced there.
Mhm.
And Dee Dee says, I was in a movie that was butchered. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Wait a minute, were you butchered or was the movie? No, I'm just kidding. I'm playing.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's a horror flick, there's a lot of butchering going on.
that's true. That's true.
You
But
never know.
But now, so as far as I know that we're kind of early in the year and, places are starting to get their bookings and all that kind of thing. So a lot of people don't have their schedules and stuff out yet. But if people want to follow and visit you, see you in person, because you always have such a great booth with a lot of great different options and varieties of things that people can buy, from autographs to your dolls to different just different kinds of items. Where's the best way for people to follow what you're doing and see different events that you've got coming up?
Facebook is a good place. Sometimes I'll put things on Instagram, but mainly on Facebook. Or sometimes I'll talk. Sometimes I try to do videos. If I'm gonna have an appearance somewhere, I try to do a video. Say, hey, listen, I'm gonna be at this one. Be sure to come and see me. See us. There's gonna be some great people there. It's this date. Blah blah blah. I try to do things like that. And honestly, right now, the only one that I really have on the books is Walker Stalker Germany. So if you guys want to fly to Germany and see me, I would love to see you. I'm going to be teaching some zombie classes, workshops over there. And there's going to be a lot of great Walking Dead folks there. And I think Chandler Riggs is supposed to be there. And he's a dear friend and sweet guy. And he played Carl on The Walking Dead. But anyways, yeah, so I'll be there teaching zombie workshops, teaching people how to move like a zombie. And it's kind of challenging. I've taught them over in Germany before. And when people don't speak the language, English, and I don't speak their language, German, it's like, you have a translator there and it's like you're having you talk and then you got to
And that's
wait.
a hard language too to speak.
Well, I can say some things, like Guten Morgen and I mean, and Guten Tag, which is good day and good morning. So I know some German, but it's very little. But I definitely have to have a translator to help me when I'm teaching the classes, because that makes it so much more difficult. Because there is such a language barrier.
Yeah.
But be able to show them the movements and things like that, but to tell them the movements is very difficult. I thought about doing it's going to be in April, and I thought about maybe getting my daughter. I know she's Dutch. She speaks Dutch because she became a legal citizen over there, and she had to. Oh God, it took several years, but she had to learn the
Mhm.
language. She
Yeah.
had to learn Dutch, so I mean, she's very fluent in Dutch now, and they expect a lot just to become a legal citizen over there. I mean, you really have to
Mhm.
learn a lot of things. Even to drive a car over there, you have to go through a whole. I mean, it's probably like a month, I think, of classes to learn how to drive and follow their rules and their regulations. And so, it took her several years before she could become a citizen there, and lots of money. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, they do
so
it right.
they do, and they don't allow a lot of people in. There's
Yeah.
certain, you really have to go through a lot just to get in over there to be a citizen.
Mhm.
Um, you can go visit for 3 months, but, you gotta have your papers in order.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, so I might see if she can help me, you know, like maybe translate. I've got, a zombie work like a zombie academy workbook type thing that's got all the stuff in it that it's like a training book. And a lot of times when I'm doing the classes, I'll take that and I'll hand that out. And I'm thinking about maybe doing maybe not the whole book, but maybe summarizing some stuff, maybe some pages,
Yeah.
some pages to hand out that's in German that maybe, and I'm hoping maybe my daughter can help me with that. But like I say, she doesn't know German, but she knows some
Yeah.
German. But with her knowing Dutch and stuff, she might be able to help me. But I guess I could do it on AI and have them translate it. But I would be worried that it wouldn't translate things properly.
Mhm.
And they would think they'd get offended because I said something I wasn't supposed to. Uh,
Yeah.
but but it's I think I want to do something like that, have that ready, and have some
Mhm.
little sheets that I can hand out, and that would help in the teaching process of showing them how, not only showing them, but they have something to read to follow along
Yeah.
uh, with my theories and stuff
Keep it
about.
simple.
Yeah, yeah, keep it
That's
very simple.
always yeah, that's
Yeah.
always the best thing with all of it, and that's I think that's gonna be really cool, that's your event that you're or your event that you've got signed already for this year,
Mhm.
so, you can be people can be planning for that, and, how cool to see it in another country.
Yeah, it's really neat, and I really don't know how many more appearances I'm gonna do this year. I did a
Yeah.
lot last year. I had cut back for a while, and
Mhm.
then, COVID hit, and then I just stopped doing a lot of them. And
Mhm.
um, it wasn't necessarily because, it's just a lot of the cons had different rules and different things, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just I just stepped away for a while, and
Well, it got kinda saturated for a
it did,
while,
it
and
did.
that was why I cut back because it got real
Mhm.
saturated and a lot of people were, the attendance was not that great, and I think a lot of that was because there was so many options and so many things going on, and to be honest, so many people, they don't realize just how much work goes into putting on a good convention, and
Yeah.
they just wanna spit one out real quick
Mhm.
and not take the time to cover all the details because there is so much involved with it, and I just felt like some of them that I was going to, they were not really, um, I don't know, very well planned out, and
Yeah,
that's hard
it is,
when you
and then,
choice.
there was a lot of conventions too that didn't realize there was other conventions that decided they were gonna do it the same weekend that were very similar. They had signed it up first and planned it first, and then there was these other
Mhm.
people that jumped in trying to monopolize on it and kind of ride their shirt tails,
Yeah.
I guess, their coattails. And, there was things like that, and then there was times where there was big football games or fairs going on, and,
The fall in
and
the South.
yeah, I mean, it's just they're just it's like sometimes, it's just it's hard because it is saturated. There's just so much going on, and sometimes it's just I don't know. I mean, I enjoy going, and I love talking to the fans. I love meeting people and getting out there, and I love showing my zombie dolls, which they can be purchased online. I'm right now at this point, I'm not doing any more zombie elves on the shelf. I'm not hand painting any more of those. You know, the zombie elves were really a big hit and everything, but for now, I'm not doing those. But I still have some dolls, and I kind of want to clear out the ones that I've got, the porcelain dolls that I've painted, and get rid of some of the ones that I already have before I start painting some more. Um, but you know, I do work on so many different things. Um, you know, but anyways, you know, I can ship them. Just keep that in mind. And $75 each plus, you know, that includes shipping. So unless it's to another country, and then there's extra shipping because it just costs so much to ship to other countries now. All signed and numbered by me, so that makes them collectible, and they come with a thank you card and a autographed trading card or 4x6 autographed picture of me. So you get documentation that I did it, and you get my signature 3 times, which is pretty cool.
Dee Dee says she has one of your dolls and she loves
Yeah,
it.
she does. She does. She's so awesome.
Dee Dee loves her haunted dolls or haunted dolls, painted dolls. Just are any of yours haunted that you know of? Because I know you do get some of the porcelain dolls.
Yeah, I've been to some estate sales and bought them, and there was one that I was kind of thinking might have been a little. I mean, it was really, really old, and it was a bigger one too, and it just. I try to cleanse them, you know, with some sage and stuff sometimes before I even bring them into the house. But I will take a compass and put on them and see if anything happens or not. And the majority of them are no. You know, there's just a couple of questionable ones that I had. Now, granted, my mom buys them, and she's got some are creepy. I mean, I'm like, Mom, stop buying. I mean, that's the thing. I don't like creepy dolls, okay, but I paint them, okay. But yeah, the majority of my dolls are not haunted. You know, they just look creepy. But yeah, there are a few that I felt a little something on them, you know, and I'm pretty sure.
Top. Sorry about that.
Is that Toby?
Yes, Toby is sitting up there, and he is behind my laptop, and he keeps pushing it around. But yeah, you got to get you a zombie doll from the original zombie herself. You know,
Right.
it just makes sense. It's a great way, great collectible way to not only get a piece of your art, but to also get you know, your signature, and I know you put a lot of passion into your art projects and stuff that you do.
Well,
So
I do. I really do. I enjoy doing it. I don't always get the time to do things. And you know, and honestly, I've even thought about just doing some festivals, you know, doing art festivals again. Every once in a while I'll carry some of my stuff with me if somebody's interested in getting my autograph. Sometimes I'll have it with me and stuff at some of the art festivals, and I miss doing those. My family and I did those for a while. We were the Woodsbridge artists, and they, you know, so we had different. Everybody had some sort of talent that we contributed to our booth, and even my dad, when he was alive, he made some tin men that were bird feeders, and so he did that, and it's just everybody had something that we contributed, and we would bring it all, and we would set it up, and I enjoyed doing those too, but those got a little saturated as well at one point, and it just got to where you would pay money for a booth, and then you did all you could to make it back.
Yeah, and some places the booth prices are so expensive that it's just it's hard as an artist to keep stuff affordable that people will want, but to also not just make your money back, but to also make it worth your while, especially if you're traveling these distances. It's real challenging.
It is. It's very challenging, but I would like to do. I know the Bradys. They got to see my Bigfoot painting I did, and I've thought about if I can find somebody that has a big enough scanner, I would like to scan that in so I can get a better, a good flat, solid image of it,
Yeah.
because it'd be cool to do some prints of that
Mhm.
and turn it into some cool stuff to sell. So,
Yeah.
uh, you know, it's it's definitely always been a passion of mine. I've been doing art since I was a kid, and so that's something I've continued with in my adulthood too. And sometimes people pay me to, they commission me to do things, so
Mhm.
it's cool.
Yeah.
So
Um, let's see. I'm looking over here at the comments again. We're a little bit after 10 o'clock, 10, almost 10:20. And let's see. Dee Dee, when we were talking about Dee Dee and her show, she said she'll share that with us later.
thank you.
She was head MUA and an extra. So fun. That's awesome. Yeah,
Cool.
love to hear more about that. And Nancy is going to get me that app that her son used, and she'll let me know, and I can pass that along
Thank
to
you,
you.
Nancy.
So,
Appreciate
um,
you.
so yeah, I I really appreciate you. Like I said, coming on tonight and talking. We've really just scratched the surface about what you've got going on. Now, as far as the paranormal, do you have any plans of any interesting places that you may try to hit this year?
I don't know. I mean, last year I got to do something cool with Gwen Johns and Brandon anyways, in Rez and everything. We went to Stump House Tunnel in South Carolina and some falls and we went to an old fort, Oconee Station, and did some cool stuff. But you know what? I mean, I haven't done the Hey Good Meals thing, so I see that's at
Yeah.
that convention you're going to be going to. If I'm going to be in town, maybe I can come up there and be take a part of that. I like to do some stuff with the ghost hunting, the ghost hunting housewives,
Yes. Great
Kristen
group.
and Carol. Yeah, they always have cool stuff, but I really don't have anything on the agenda right now, really. But I'm sure something will come up um, you know, and sometimes when I walk through these battlefields, I'll cut an app on or something and see if I
Hmm.
get anything. And
Hmm.
when I was up there and um, I guess it was Kings Mountain, I
Hmm.
walked up there, and last year and had some
Yeah.
very interesting names come up on the app and got up at the top and guess what? There was the names on the monument.
Yeah.
So, it's really cool. And some of the places that app was going off at, um, I'm like, the marker's on down there. They got this wrong. You know, it happened here. Um, I think they need to change their markers because they've got them in the wrong location. But, but anyways, um,
Well, and we haven't really said anything about it yet, but you helped me when I was filming last year when I came down to film for an episode that is going to be part of season 9. And so I appreciate you getting me into this really neat location. And, it's sort of like a throwback to traditional Ghost Biker style. And with the type of location that it was and the history of it. And so still going through evidence to see. We had some pretty interesting sessions, but I appreciate you helping me film. That was that was a lot of fun, and so I do appreciate you getting me in there. And we'll obviously talk more about that as the episode gets edited and gets closer to getting released. But yeah, I do appreciate that, and you have helped me out on several other episodes in the past. People have seen some of the live episodes that have been done. So I can't thank you enough for your help in getting me into several of these locations, introducing me to some of the different owners, and helping me out. So thank you.
well, you're welcome. Well, thank you for having me a part of it. I'm honored. As you can see, Ghost Biker. I'm a huge fan. And so I enjoy investigating with you. I love watching you investigate. I just think you're awesome because you bring so much to it. It's like I told you, it's like these spirits, like there's like some sort of spirit chain or something other, and they just It's like the jail spirits have told all the other spirits, and the ghost chain has gone down, and they're like, there's this ghost network, and they're like, hey, Miranda's going to be in your area, and they just come out. They're like, hey, what up, girl? So you just have a magical way of bringing. I think you're like a ghost psychiatrist or something, that just wants to talk to you. It's pretty freaking amazing. So I'll investigate with you anytime. So I love doing it. I love helping you. So, and I love learning from you as well, because you've really taught me a lot about the paranormal and how to use certain tools and anytime I have a question about something, you're always willing to help me with it. So that's very beneficial for me becoming a, paranormal investigator. So it's been very cool. So
Well,
awesome.
I love learning. Well, thanks. Thank you. I appreciate that. I love learning from everyone that I'm around. I feel like the minute we stop learning, the minute we are kidding ourselves, because nobody knows about everything about all of this. And we learn from other people's techniques, I think. As we see it every week at the jail when all these people come in, and when Christy and I feel like we've just gotten to know these spirits and gotten to know what helps bring out this activity. Somebody will come in with new energy and new techniques and be able to really build upon what we've done on a daily basis. And so then we're able to take that, and it's really cool to do that. And I feel like we all learn from other people. And so it's just, I love seeing the passion too. I love it when people, who maybe are not necessarily into it as much as I am, get a taste for it and, don't find it as scary, or don't find it as something that doesn't mean that we don't get freaked out or nervous or startled in these locations, but people who are maybe scared to kind of go in and see what happens, it's really cool to see their eyes open whenever they have an experience and to kind of try to dive deeper into it and find their own unique way of investigating.
Yeah, when I was down in Washington, Georgia, at the Callaway plantation down there, when that and the Brady, Kim Brady was with me, and she was actually downstairs. But anyway, when I was upstairs, there was a cat ball, and when asked, can you show us that you're with us? That cat ball flew off the desk, and I'm just like, okay, time to go. So.
It was like that. It was like the day when we were sitting down there at my family member's house that I highlighted this past season, and cleaning stuff out of that house, and just thought we would set the stuff up and we did show this in the behind the screens, not during the actual episode, but in the behind the screens, and ask that we're just sitting there. You and I are just sitting there, and nothing had happened at all. And then all of a sudden it's like, can you turn that flashlight on the count of 4 or 5? I can't remember what I said now.
Yeah.
Yes, it was 5. And instead of turning it on, all of a sudden that one flashlight just shoots off the couch. And it's like,
that was crazy.
Okay, right on the count of 5, so I know that feeling. And it's one of those where you're just like, I think I get so too excited to be scared in those situations. And that's not always good, but
yeah. And I don't, even with the cat ball thing, it wasn't like I was scared, but I was just like, oh shit, yeah, we gotta get out of here. But I did ask, do you want us to leave? And we did get that yes. The flashlight went off, and we're like, okay, well, thank you, we're out of here. But so we didn't stay long after that. Because it did want to sleep, but we were the third group too going through there. So there was a lot of energies, a lot of people that had already been in there. So I'm sure the spirits were just over it. They're like, hey, quit using us like a cat toy. Quit trying to play with us like a cat toy here. We're not a toy. We're not a. we just want some peace and quiet tonight, leave us alone,
Mhm.
it's bedtime, but Mammy in the cabin that night, man, she was a great host. I mean, she was wonderful, so I mean, we got a lot of activity there. I just enjoy doing that, but I don't like the bigger groups though. I like it when it's smaller.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do. I like more intimate amount of people. I don't like it to be more than I really don't like it to be more than like 4 or 5 people, if
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
I like a much smaller group
yeah,
myself, and that's what we try to do anyways, and that's why I like the group investigations are fun at the big places, mostly just to see all the other energies, but
mhm,
all the other energies can be very frustrating too.
yeah,
Just because you have different people, different styles, and sometimes some people are not as serious as others. So,
yeah.
but I love the smaller groups like that just because you can have a more intimate experience and you don't have all the energy contamination.
Yeah, and you don't have the contamination either of somebody walking around or somebody doing something.
Mhm.
You know where everybody's at.
Mhm.
And knowing where everybody is at to me is key to knowing if the evidence you've gotten is real. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so I mean that really helps to the process of elimination of knowing. Well, Bud was there, Jim was there,
Mhm.
Gwen was there, and then you've got everybody, where everybody was at. So when that noise was heard and it was
Mhm.
over there and there was nobody over there, then you know
Mhm.
there and there's no animals, there's no rats, there's no cats, there's no animal, there's nothing there. Then there's no other explanation. So it's that's what fascinates me is when these things happen, you
Yeah.
know, just to get any communication,
It's a gift.
it
It
is.
it's a real gift when they choose to communicate with you.
Yeah, and
You
even when I was in that jail, doing that thing or, last year, the night at the museum in Homer, Georgia, at the old jail there, I was upstairs near the gallows and, you know, I, out of the corner of my eye over here, I saw a shadow go by the door and there was nobody else up there with me.
Mhm.
There was no it wasn't from a car light, there was no windows in that area. You've seen it. We went up there, we
Yeah.
had such a good time that day. Um, and, we went to Crawford W. Long Museum in Jefferson, Georgia, which was we highly recommend going there. It is the
Mhm.
best museum ever. Well, not as good as the Historic Scott County Jail Museum, but it's just a really awesome, uh, but, uh, but anyways, um,
Mhm.
it's really good to visit there, and, we went to a couple courthouses, couple jails that day, it was a
Yeah.
really good time, but anyway, but you saw, I mean, there's no windows in that
Yeah.
area that could have been a shadow from that, went past that door, and there was nobody downstairs at the time either when that happened. I was the only
Exactly.
person in jail. I was the only person in jail, and I saw it go past it was just the corner of my eye, but I know what I saw. I have really good side vision, so
Mhm.
it was a shadow.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
things like that happen, and then you're like, "Whoa," you know? So, anyways.
Yeah. And that really was a very fun day to go hit those historic places and just for people who watch the Jailhouse Informant podcast there from the jail, we will be having somebody from Crawford W. Long Museum on. That's just a cool museum. They do it really, really well. And so we will be having someone on the Jailhouse Informant podcast from that location to talk to us a little bit about that museum and what they've done for that. Highly recommend if you get the opportunity to, if you're in the area or if you're close by, go to that. Go to that area, go to that museum because it's so cool, so cool. So,
It really is. It's a neat I had not been there since 1986. So, it was like, "Oh, this is look at this, they've added this." Yeah, well, it's been a long time. So, I was 16 years old the last time I had went to that museum. So, I was very eager to go back and been meaning to go back. So it was cool to experience it with Miranda and take her and show her around some of the. I actually attended high school in Jefferson, and so at Jackson County High School, and down the road, I even showed her where I went to high school at. So it was kind of cool to kind of take her on a little tour there of the city, so she could see where I went to school at, and some of the places that were on historic lists and stuff. So that was really cool.
Yeah. And we're about to wrap up here. And I was just double checking some of these comments. Angela, thank you so much for tuning in. She says, need to come to Kentucky and come check out Road Tripper's Nightmare in Somerset. Somerset is just an hour from here, and it has some cool things.
Nice.
Angela is correct on that. Season 9 is going to be great. We're doing some planning on season 9. Again, we're kind of changing the format up on that. Season 9 is going to run through the year here, not just in October. So I'm working to, if we can just get this weird weather behind us and get these new exhibits that we're putting up at the jail done, get all that behind us, we'll be definitely announcing a little bit more on our schedule for season 9 and when that first episode is going to drop. So so stay tuned for that. I'm actually really excited to be doing something a little bit more than just October, because we do these live investigations throughout the year. So why not incorporate it into a season and kind of spread things out a little bit more. And thank you guys. Thank you guys for your really kind comments. I appreciate that. And let's see. Dee Dee says, agree. So fun to explore. There are things beyond what we think is normal. And let's see here. Got Kim talking about she agrees with and prefers the smaller groups. I think most people do. I think from what I've found, it is fun sometimes to bounce that extra energy off, but it's got to be the right group, or at least for me.
Yeah, I agree.
And she says we all need to come to South Carolina so we can do Hey Good Meal together. Absolutely, such a fun place. Let's see, and Angela says be safe this weekend if it involves Tennessee. Yeah. Like I said, for all you folks, I know we've got folks spread throughout the country here, but we have a lot of people in the chat room that's in Georgia, Tennessee, North and South Carolina. I know you and I were talking earlier, and we were talking about Mississippi and Texas and Mississippi. About to definitely going to be getting hit before us. This has just been really weird weather because originally they were giving it here. There was almost going to be 2 feet of snow, and thank God thankfully that's really they've really toned that back. We've been watching this weather system for probably 2 weeks now. I think they've really been talking about it, and of course they've not really been able to put things, kind of get things narrowed down until really today was when they really were able to get a much clearer picture, at least for us here in Tennessee and you in your area there. So I think now we're supposed to get significantly much less snow. Angela, I know y'all up in Kentucky, right here where I'm at, we're right on that line where we could either get a lot of snow or get more ice. And so I know you being where you're at there in Kentucky, you all are supposed to get hit pretty hard. So definitely be safe and warm. And then we're going to get hit real hard next week with, I think we're supposed to be around 3 on Monday. It's supposed to be our highs, or not high, but a portion of the day is supposed to be 3. So I can imagine the wind chill is going to be below 0 is what they're saying. So
And I saw today too, there's going to be some gusty wind with some of this stuff too. And with these,
Mhm.
as you know, with the ice storm, we've both experienced those where when it's ice and it's hanging heavy on those limbs, even healthy limbs, if the wind's up too, there's going to be a lot of trees down. So guys, just be diligent and be prepared and, make sure everything's charged up. Make sure you got batteries, make sure you got candles, make sure you got, different things. I bought a sled, even though it's going to be icy. Got a sled. It's important. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just,
we're it's crazy because that's my biggest thing. I went and stocked up on food today as well as I've been all evening charging. That's the good thing about being a paranormal investigator. There's no shortage of batteries and no shortage of lights and other gadgets. So I've been plugging all these batteries in, plugging all these lights, trying to get all this stuff charged before, because I think they've pushed ours now instead of it starting Friday night like it was supposed to. It's supposed to start on Saturday morning. So that's why we chose to close. We do have an escape room on the books for tomorrow night, and thankfully those folks are going to be able to get in, do the escape room. We're not going to have to reschedule them. And yeah, just trying to get anything and everything. I worry for me here, I worry most about my pipes breaking or my heat going out is what I worry about the most.
yeah,
Um, Power goes out, yeah, that will stink, but because there goes my heat. But yeah, I'm mostly worried about my pipes. Old house.
yeah, yeah. Mine's not as old as yours, but still 1964. There's always that chance here too, and I'm on a solid
Mhm.
foundation, so everything's in concrete. And the concrete gets cold. It gets cold.
Yeah,
So, but
yeah.
I've been prepared over my air conditioning, and my client, one of my clients today, he was an engineer, and he looked at it, he's like, "That's genius," and I was just like, it's just covering up the air condition. So it's I created a last winter when we had snow, my air conditioner was getting ice from the roof falling onto it, and it was freezing over, and it wasn't working well. And so I built me like a lean shed for
Yeah.
it, like a lean-to. And so basically just I came up with two 2x4s and a piece of metal roofing, and I leaned it against the house over it so the everything would not go down on it. And so I had to fix that back up for the weekend, and hopefully it'll last and
Mhm.
not blow over or anything. But I'm hoping that'll prevent it from freezing over, because that was awful last year.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so anyways, I mean, just think of things, just get creative.
Mhm.
But anyway,
Yeah. And remember your southern friends because we don't get weather like this all the time.
no,
So driving in this type of weather or even just being in this type of weather, we get a fair amount here on the Cumberland Plateau. We get it a little bit. Sorry, these cats are playing. I don't know if you all can hear the noise, but uh, we do get quite a bit here on the Cumberland Plateau, but in some of these other areas, it's not as common. So if you don't have to get out, don't. And honestly, I hope best case scenario, um, I'm okay if we're stuck in for a few days because there's a lot I can get done as long as there's no as long as I'm not stuck in here with no um, heat or no electricity. So I'm okay with it. Um, but yeah, so definitely remember everyone here in the South. I think we just saw that Tennessee and Georgia just declared state of emergency.
yes, they
Or when
did right
they did
before we
that.
got on. Yeah, right before we got on, they had just done that. So, um, you know, I'm not looking forward to this. I'm trying to I'm preparing for the worst, but hoping for the best. So
Absolutely.
we'll just see what gets us. What happens.
Yeah, I will know probably before the meteorologists do because they're not they're going to change it. But and like Nancy said, definitely drip those faucets.
Mhm.
Um, that's been something I've been doing the last couple days here. And Dee Dee says we're crying. It might be 60
Oh,
in the day.
great. Thank you. Thanks for rubbing it in. Rub it in
I'm
like a wound. Yeah, that's salt in the wound.
I'm so jealous, honestly. Oh man. I'm
I mean, I'm
I'm
buying like
like
bags of salt, to put on the ice, and all that kind of stuff today, and you're talking about 60-degree weather. Fine, be that way.
and Angela says prayers to us both for a safe weekend. Prayers for everyone here. That's because I know that this is supposed to hit a lot of areas. So definitely prayers to everyone in this because
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And let's see here. Jolly was going to come to Oneida for the weekend, but she changed her plans. That was definitely smart.
I
Because
changed my plans this weekend too, so
yeah. So it's like, unless you want to be up here for a little while. Now, with what they were giving, that's what was crazy. I mean, they were saying that this could be worse than the blizzard of '93 that we
Mhm.
had here, and that was bad.
Mhm.
So it's and that's the problem too, because they don't know it's supposed to be such a, as they said, a mixed bag of precipitation with the snow, the rain, and the freezing rain, the ice, and then it's supposed to wrap around with snow again.
Mhm.
Anything that hits with these cold temperatures that's coming through is going to be here for a minute
Yeah.
afterwards. So yeah, definitely. Kim said South Carolina declared state of emergency also, she thought yesterday. And and Nancy, you're welcome. I hope you get to feeling better as well. And you're back heals soon.
I
And
hope so too, Nancy.
yeah, that's back pain's no joke, especially if if you are going into some crazy weather. And Carl says they're going to get buried in West Virginia. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I said, it all just is going to depend on how this stuff hits. I've seen some crazy stuff for West Virginia, North Carolina, even, like we talked about, Alabama, North Georgia. When I lived in Chattanooga, we didn't get anything unless it came up out of the South right there. It was
Mhm.
coming from the West and then coming from the South, and it would hit right in the valley, and Atlanta would get it, we would get it, and it was always bad. Up here, we get several a year, but um, definitely see. Yeah, and as Nancy said, she remembers '93 in Tennessee, 10 inches of ice. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, just craziness. Um, let's see, 2014, Angela says they were snowed in for 3 weeks. It was awful. Yeah, I remember in '93 we were without power for like 2 weeks. It was awful. But yes, as Kim says, everyone be safe. Um, Try to get prepared as best you can, and we'll get through it. And we'll have a great guest as long as we have power, which hopefully we will by next Thursday. We will have Mr. Davy Dower. He was going to be on a few weeks ago, and we had to end up rescheduling him because he had some illness in his family. So hopefully everyone is good and healthy, and everyone has power and heat, and he will be on next week. He is in Minnesota, and he owns the Minnesota Haunted Objects Museum. So we're looking forward to having him on, and he's also hosting the Upstate Minnesota Paranormal Convention. So we'll have him on and be talking about a lot of really cool things next week. So remember to go on, like, follow, and subscribe to Sonya's pages. I know a lot of you said you just did. Definitely check out her. Let me pull it up here. Definitely check out her fan page, Back from the Dead, as well. And I don't know. Okay, there, my thing is going in and out. And definitely check out her Walkabout Georgia and Beyond. And so and experience some really great content on there. So and keep an eye on different events that she's got coming up. So anyways, before my cats
tear everything up.
tear everything up and try to steal the show. So anyways, everyone take care. We will see you all next week. And again, thank you, Sonya.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for everybody in the chat room. It was awesome.
All right. Good night, everybody.